Yo, what's up, everybody? Hey, listen, this is your boy Ant, and I wanted to jump on here real quickly tonight just to have a heart to heart conversation with a lot of you young men. And before I get started with what I want to say, I want to preface this with a thought, and that thought being what happens when the young lion with strength connects with the old lion with wisdom. All right. Good. Now that I've got all that thrown out, let's rewind it back to the beginning and get started. But last night, one of my good young friends was texting me. There's probably a 20-year age difference between me and him. And he was like, hey, at some point tomorrow, whenever you get just a little free time, I need to run some things by you because I got some things that I'm dealing with that I need some advice on. Now, as many of you guys know, oftentimes as men, young men, old men, it don't change. It's really hard to go to another man and ask for help. So I take it as an honor all the time. Anytime a young man comes to me and asks for any sense of wisdom, advice, or instruction on how to proceed with a particular problem in life. So as we started chopping it up, he shared some things with me and I gave some advice. But after this whole situation was over and we talked and I think we came to a really good place, we're just giving him some God-given wisdom on maybe what to do. I oftentimes think back to my own life, dealing with a lot of the older men, and sometimes there's a great disconnect between younger men and older men because older men a lot of times don't want to hear from young men. They feel like, hey, if we got all this life wisdom and all this experience, they kind of put themselves on a pedestal that even if a young man has something to offer, or even if a young man may have something to bring to the table, a lot of times he is discredited. I have been discredited by a lot of older men, so I know that's out there. But something I'm wanting to appeal with this video tonight is what can we do, especially as older men, to put our ego aside and do what we can to be in a position that when these young men need our help, when they need our wisdom, when they need our guidance, we're there for them, because on us, we hold a greater amount of onus, right? Because the difference between a man and a boy, once a man reaches maturity, now he has an ability to be a life giver. He can plant seeds and those seeds become future generations. That's something that's in us. And we should have really an innate desire to really plant our wisdom in these young men. But you know what? It takes wisdom now to reach a lot of these young men, because some of them are looking for us, but maybe they don't know how to get to us. Maybe they don't know how to bridge the conversation. So really, my conversation is, if we're really going to bring change, if we're really going to bring impact, we have to be in a place where the young lion with strength is connecting with the old men with wisdom. I don't know, maybe it's an insecurity that won't allow us to get closer to other men. I want you to just think about that for a minute. Like when I was growing up and I was a musician and I would be places that a lot of good musicians were, I was not too egotistical where I couldn't ask a drummer, for example, how he did a certain role. And something I found out with a lot of drummers, a lot of them were too insecure to feel like they could tell you or show you how they were doing what they were doing, because for them, by them giving you the recipe to their success, or by them showing you or imparting in you this drum roll they were doing, now if you could do it, that took shine off of them. And I think that's a really major issue we have to talk about. What is it that makes us so insecure that we can't share with these young guys what it's going to take to make them successful? If you got something that works, share it with them. You can't take that to the grave. You can't do what you used to do. But what you can do is you can plant some seeds of wisdom in these young men that's going to make these other generation now have shade that they can sit under. Think about it. Every tree you plant is going to be shade for a future generation. Also, I got to be honest now, with each passing generation, this thing gets a little different. There were some things that we may be fine with that the generation before loses it about, and vice versa. Sometimes I see things that, maybe this younger crowd is doing, and I'm like, I'm losing my mind. But the reality is a good mentor is able to create a safe space for these kids where that way when they come to talk to you, sometimes you're able to do like this and create a no judgment zone. Listen, whatever we talk about, you got no judgment for me, because when a child realizes that, hey, I can talk to you, that this is a safe space, that there is no judgment, and I can get these weights off of my chest. Y'all, listen. Yo, we can be so much more potent. We can be so much more effective. Efficiency. We have the wisdom on our side. Use it as a strength. Use it as a virtue. These gray hairs that I got in my beard that I keep throwing that blackout on that I'm trying to hide. Listen, it's a sign, it's a testament that I'm still here. I've learned my life lessons. I've got some ashy elbows and scraped knees because I've fallen sometimes. I've gotten back up. But listen, I've got something to talk to you guys about. Let's create safe spaces for these kids to be able to talk to us. My glasses are, but hey, my glasses are a little crooked, but I'm honest enough now to say, hey, let me fix it. And that's what I want to do for some of these young people. If you're a little crooked in some areas, let us help you out. Let's create these relationships that will be fruitful for you down the road. Listen, real recognizes real. I read a motto one time, and it has stuck with me 20 plus years. And it said, preach the gospel. And if necessary, use words. What that was saying was sometimes your actions are the loudest things people will ever hear. How are you really behind the words? That's what we gotta have these conversations, because if you ask a young man, what is your real honest impression of me? A lot of these kids are so honest. They'll be real. They'll be like, you all right? They'll be like, I ain't gonna say nothing. Guys, we gotta have these. I like to get out there still now, my 40 years of living, and I like to crack jokes with the young men on the basketball court. But listen, God has called the young men for their strength. I can't run up and down the court like I used to, but hey, I'm good. My first step is still good. My shot is still dropping, but the quickness and speed is gone. That defense can't hold my 16-year-old like it did 16 years ago. Times have changed in my body, and I accept that. But now I'm in a position where I want to give them the wisdom of what I've got. And I want a lot of you younger, older men especially, take joy in having lived this long. Wherever you are, in a lot of our communities, there's not a great long life expectancy with us. So if we're here, let's make a positive investment. Let's start building relationship with these young men and imparting in them what we have. Elders, pour in the guys, my generation. Don't always just look to the young people to find issues or to point out what's wrong in the community. There are a lot of good young men that are wanting to do some things, but they need somebody like us to give them a little push. I just wanted to just throw these thoughts out here to you guys real quickly. I didn't want to get real preachy, but I wanted to plant this seed that these young men need us. And we can't be there for them if we're sitting on our seat of do nothing, or if we're sitting in a position where we can't be transparent, we can't be real, we can't even share some of our failures. Because truth be told, some of us have had some very real failures in life. But guys, I just wanted to drop this video to you, and I wanted to put this out there. Let's dialogue. Let's talk about some things that we can do to bridge the gap between these young lions that have strength and that can carry on these visions and mantles that, guys like Dr. Martin Luther King, these guys talked about. Let's bridge the gap and keep this thing going, because without these young people, there is no tomorrow. Let's do the work, guys. Let's bridge, let's talk, let's go to work. Y'all be blessed.